This is Angelo from Fishbone, and you are listening to the LSQ podcast.
This is one of those episodes where I still can't believe I got to talk to an artist that I've been a fan of since I was a kid. I can still remember being in high school in the early 90s and having my mind blown by seeing the video for Fishbone's Sunless Saturday on MTV's 120 Minutes, and then going to my local record store, R.I.P. Twisted Disque on Jamaica Avenue, to get the album, The Reality of My Surroundings, and then walking around Queens with it blasting in my headphones, mesmerized by the way Fishbone melded genres like ska, funk, punk, metal, and more. Fishbone is one of the bands that showed me what was possible as far as breaking down both genre and racial barriers in music. So, when I learned that Fishbone were getting ready to release their first full-length album in almost 20 years, their awesome new LP Stockholm Syndrome, and that they would be doing interviews, I knew I had to make it happen. Oh hey, by the way, I'm Jenny LSQ. Thanks for pressing play on episode 125 of the LSQ podcast. It was a blast connecting with Fishbone's Angelo Moore, who is the only permanent member of Fishbone, in that he's the only one who's been in the band for its entire more than 40-year history, while others have left or joined or left and rejoined. In the conversation in this episode, Angelo and I talk about his earliest experiences with creativity. He started pop-locking and street dancing in Hollywood before he started playing music. He wanted to get a keyboard when he eventually did get into music, but his dad insisted on a saxophone, and thus the seeds for Fishbone were planted. Angelo talks about meeting his bandmates in 8th grade and schlepping on the bus more than 2 hours each way from where he lived in the Valley to band practice in South Central LA, working up to their early shows and eventually scoring a major label deal that turned out to be a mixed blessing. We also delve into the ups and downs of Fishbone's career, what Angelo remembers about early encounters with the Red Hot Chili Peppers and Beastie Boys, and what inspired Fishbone's new album, which is a true return to form, the sound of a band that has never been afraid to be completely themselves in all of their bright, brash, political, genre-melding glory. You might start by listening to the Stockholm Syndrome single, Racist Piece of Shit, to get a sense of the album as a whole. Before we get into it, I just want to set the scene a bit because you'll notice that the audio sounds a little rougher than usual. Fishbone had just begun a run of dates on Less Than Jake's Summer Circus tour when we taped this, and when Angelo joined the Zoom, he was on the road literally. He called while driving himself to soundcheck for a show in Florida. So it was a little more chaotic than the usual interview, with Angelo attempting to navigate while answering my questions. You'll also hear him stop for a pee break mid-interview, which was hilarious. Anyway, let's do it.
Jenny?
Hi.
Hi, Jenny.
How are you?
Well, I'm driving. See, look.
Oh, yeah, damn. Oh, shit. Be careful.
No, it's okay. I got you.
Are you on your way to the gig?
And I'm riding with my partner, Nancy, here.
Hey, Nancy. How are you?
Nancy Bedard.
Nice to meet you.
She's a lawyer in musical law for the state of New York, Florida, California.
Sweet.
So we are just on our way to Fort Lauderdale. Last night we played the House of Blues in Orlando, Florida, with Less Than Jake and Suicide Machines and Biking Band.
Yeah, you're on this Less Than Jake Summer Circus tour, huh?
Yeah.
How's that been?
Good, man. It's packed houses every night.
Amazing.
You get 30 minutes, but that's all good. Shit. 30 minutes to do some good damage.
So, because obviously Stockholm Syndrome, the new Fishbone album, is not out yet at this point that we're recording this, but it's coming out soon. So are you playing the new singles for your sets so far?
Yeah, we're playing Racist Piece of Shit and Last Call in America. And the record, the actual physical wax, the physical vinyl, I'm always pushing the physical vinyl more than I am social media. Because as you well know, or a lot of people don't know, that even though they get to hear the music for Spotify and Amazon and all of those other social media platforms, the artist gets paid an embarrassing, insulting amount of money for the music. And so I'm always encouraging people to support the artist directly and buy their vinyl, buy the CD and the T-shirts and the books and everything else, man. Because other than that, once our music is out there for everybody to hear and enjoy. The artist doesn't get paid really anything.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
Where are you at right now?
I'm in Los Angeles.
Oh shit, you're in LA. Okay, so hold up.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy here.
Downtown, right?
Yeah,
I saw that shit yesterday. Get tear gas and shit. Motherfuckers. What was it? Big crowd of people. What street was that on? Was that a freeway or some shit?
Yeah, that was on the freeway, which I guess I just assumed it was the 110, but I don't know. I didn't get near it yesterday. It really escalated fast, but I'm proud of folks here in Los Angeles for pushing back.
Doing that. Right, exactly. Well, we're pushing back out here on the road, man. We got our protest songs. We're a protest band. When we went to France a month ago, the name of our tour was Escape America Tour.
Yeah, you got to when you can.
The Fishbone Escape America Tour, man. We try to make it like the Handmaid's Tale, escaping the fucking Canada and shit like that. Escape to France and get married to a foreigner so we can have some medical and some retirement money at the end of all of this shit. Because America ain't gonna give it to you.
Exactly. How are you finding that audiences? Because I know there's different crowds, different states and cities here in the US since you've been out. What is it, like a week and a half now or so on this Less Than Jake thing? Like, how are the American audiences responding to the commentary and to like racist piece of shit? And are there any audiences where it's been like rough in the room in terms of their receptiveness?
No, I don't think so. I don't catch it.
Oh, good.
Right or back. I had a couple of dudes yesterday. They seemed like the Hulk Hogan type, redneck types. And they came up to me and they said, brother, I'm on your fucking side, okay? You know, I was in the fucking Marines and I know how to kill these motherfuckers, man. So you just let me fucking know what I need to do to help you guys out, all right, bro? All right, fucking brother. I'm like, yeah, man.
Yeah. It's like, hey, sure, get together a bunch of your friends. I'll tell you where to show up. How about that?
I tell you right where to go, dog. Yeah, they can go downtown LA right now. As a matter of fact, that's where it's showtime right now.
Exactly. Man, so I want to go back in time because the main thing that I do on this podcast is look back to like earlier life stuff and all of the foundational musical moments and influences. I got to say, I was at the Grammy Museum the other day when y'all did your thing there. And some of what you were sharing was so interesting to me.
Oh, you saw that?
I saw that. It was so great.
See, and then at the end, did you see the end?
I did.
Right? So at the end of that shit, Chris Dowd was, after my meltdown, Chris Dowd was supposed to come in and go, like Alfred Hitchcock, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for attending Fishbone Stockholm Syndrome Theater. We hope to see you again. But he never came out. He totally forgot. This motherfucker left me hanging. Oh my God.
He did that voice though. He did a lot of that voice though. That I reckon.
He did a lot of that voice during the question and answer.
So yeah, you were saying earlier, I feel like the segue here is you were saying earlier about buying the vinyl, buying the CDs, this kind of thing. What was the first record you ever bought?
First record I ever bought, I think maybe it was Flashlight by George Clinton by Funkadelic. I got the Funkadelic 45, Parliament Funkadelic Flashlight.
And where did you go get records? How old were you and where did you go get that?
Well, it was a music store. They had Tower Records and they had like little mom and pop stores around. Just, Hollywood. We lived in the Valley, but I would always catch the bus and go from the Valley into LA to rehearse with Fishbone and back. 2.5 hours from the Valley into LA, around Cadillac and La Cienega. And 2.5 hours back, and I come through Hollywood, and I was coming through Hollywood. That's where I would do all my pop locking and street dancing and shit on Hollywood Highland. And then I end up going to some of them punk rock clubs in the area.
So even before, because you met those guys, in like 8th grade or whatever, but before that, did you feel like you told me the pop locking obviously is creative, but like how old were you when you started feeling like a creative, artistic person?
Damn, man. I was still like, even elementary school, I would always be dancing in the mirror, listening to James Brown and Sly Stone and all that kind of stuff, and Confunction and all. There was a bunch of jazz already in the house. Jazz and blues records already everywhere. My mom and dad collected a lot of blues and jazz and stuff like that, and a lot of R&B.
Yeah, because your dad played music, right?
Played saxophone with Count Basie. So he always had music in the mix. You know, him and my mom, they were music kids, but they were also educators in the LA Unified School District. And so my first creative thing was dance. I danced in the mirror, I make up routines and everything else. And then, I'd be doing some drawing and stuff. But then in junior high, when I told my dad I wanted a synthesizer, and he said, "Fuck that silly shit. You can play the saxophone." So I was doing saxophone in band class.
Did you like it right away?
I don't know, man. I just felt like I was doing it right along with everything else, you know. But I started to like it after a while because then I wanted to emulate some of my favorite artists that I was listening and dancing to, like some of the horn parts. Once I learned the basic structure of the horn and where all the notes were, then I would learn my favorite horn parts and my favorite songs I like to dance to and stuff like that. And that's where some of the musical creativity came into play, just beyond dancing. And then after a while, because I was really into my pop rock and like really heavy, man. And but then I was playing music at the same time. As a matter of fact, I quit the band to be in a pop rock group for a minute. Oh my God, motherfuckers was mad at me.
Wow.
But then I got back with the band, and I tried to do the pop rock and the music thing and simultaneously, but I just didn't have enough bandwidth. I would have had to have two brains to do that.
You have two brains and four hands.
Two brains and four hands to do that. So I was like, well, if I play music, I can be the puppet master and be a part of making them dance rather than just being controlled by the music. So that's what kind of made me be like, all right, well, I'm in the band. I got this saxophone. I'm singing. I can only do so much dancing with a saxophone hanging on me and I'm singing. So that's where all the creative, but all of my other dance stuff kind of turned into dance moves that I really didn't have to pay too much attention to, like skanking and moshing and stage diving. Ain't too much structure to that. But it's a lot of emotion going on.
So when you met the guys, the original Fishbone lineup, when you were still just kids, like who said let's start a band? Like how did that actually get rolling?
Norwood, the original bass player, he was all in junior high, and he said he wanted to make the Fishbone Norwood Fisher Familyhood band or Norwood Fisher fan club, and that was his sign for that. And that's what that turned into. That just turned into Fishbone shit right there. He had a band. I asked Norwood if I could be in his band because it wasn't none of that really going on out there in the valley where I was at. Wasn't nobody really playing funk and Riddick James and Funkadelic and nothing like that. At least they were playing it in the house, but wasn't nobody was trying to play it on any instruments. So the only people that was playing it on the instruments were the guys that I met in music class in junior high at Hale Junior High School, because they'd get bussed out from inner city into the integration program. And so that's where I met the guys in Fishbone.
And how quickly did some of the other early influences start to come into the mix? Whether it's Bowie and the Specials and all the other stuff that started to mix in with the funk.
Oh, when did that started to come into the picture?
Yeah.
Man, the ska was the first thing I discovered beyond just my whole foundation of R&B and funk and blues and jazz. The ska stuff I caught wind of in high school. It's Ghetto Blaster, and he always riding the back of the bus. It was very well. He was crippin'. He had this Ghetto Blaster playing the selector, Too Much Pressure. And I really liked it. I'm like, man, what the fuck is that? And so from there, I took the selector, and then came the Specials, and then Gab Manners, and then the whole British ska movement. And I used to go see Dance Craze and Rocky Horror Picture Show back to back at the movie theater on Sunday. And so I was into the ska and the glam shit. I never realized that mod was not ska. I didn't realize that shit until way later. But all of the Rocky Horror Picture Show type of stuff and ska stuff, I was catching all of that probably around maybe 11th grade. And then after the British ska, then I discovered Jamaican ska afterwards. Even though Jamaican ska shit came first, that's how I discovered, Devo and all that shit. But yeah, Jamaican ska came after all of that. And then I discovered reggae. After the ska, it's almost like I discovered everything from the back to the fore.
Which I feel like that's normal. Like when you're a kid, you hear the thing that's most recent and like geographically closest and like chronologically closest to you. And then you're like, where did that come from? And you go back further. And then you're like, but where did that come from? And then you go back further. And then you realize you're like, oh, what I was into first was just the derivative.
Right. What chronologically the closest to me was the Selector and the Specials and all of that. And Devo, all of that new wave shit too. That's what I was catching.
And how long were y'all playing before you started to feel like we're onto some shit here? Like this is getting good.
Well, we played Madame Wong's East. The Bus Boys put us on Madame Wong's East in the first show. That was our first real show. But when you say when did we feel like it actually started to get good? I don't know, what does that mean? When did it start to get good? Because it was always good.
Yeah. It was always good. Yeah, maybe it's an irrelevant question, because everybody's different. But like, I guess I wonder, like, was there a period of time where you were doing it just for fun versus doing it where you're like, no, this is my thing. This is our thing. We're taking this wide. We're bringing this to everyone.
Beyond the event horizon.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, that's when we got signed. That's when David Kahn came to the club somewhere in Hollywood, on Santa Monica, somewhere. And he said, hey, guys, I'm from Columbia Records, and I want to sign you. Feel like, yeah, white man, get the fuck out of here, motherfuckers. Get out, blowing smoke and shit. So we told him to get the fuck out of here. Because we didn't think anybody wanted to sign us. We were just out there having fun. Then he came back to another show. Hey, I was at your show a couple of weeks ago, and I was asking you guys if you were interested in being signed. And so we were like, okay. So we ended up talking to him, and then the manager got into the picture. I don't know who the fuck that was. Roger Perry, actually. That was it. And so once we got a manager and then the record company and the contract, we didn't know what the fuck we were looking at. And we had somebody read it who they knew what they were looking at more than we did, but not enough. And so we just got signed to Columbia. When we got signed to Columbia, we did our first demo at Capitol Records in Hollywood, in the basement. That's when I thought to myself, man, we in a real studio. It looked like it's kind of going somewhere. So that shit went from the bedroom in the garage to a studio with mics and a tape machine and everything else. And that's when I said, well, it looked like it's getting ready to be something, because we got a real demo tape that sounds better than just pressing the button on a cassette player.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned that you had someone look at the contract. I'm hearing in there maybe that ultimately you found out the contract was kind of fucked up, right? Like, somebody looked at
when we couldn't get our masters back, and Sony left us hanging there like, yeah, okay, we need for you to make your music a little more pop or shit like that. We were just like, well, we like what we're playing, and we tried changing up some music, but it still didn't work. And then Donnie Ienner, the president of Sony, coming on the bus to us at Lollapalooza after playing us to a sea of people talking about, oh, we're going, hey guys, we're going to have to fucking discontinue your record, good job, and I'll see you later.
Fuck.
And I was like, man, you might want to bother looking out of the window and looking at that sea of people who just finished playing too. How you gonna come on here and tell us that the record's been discontinued?
Because this would have been what? This would have been what, like 94-ish or something like that?
Something around there, yeah.
Yeah. What the hell?
Give a monkey a brain or something like that. I think that may have been the record. But, our manager was telling me that if he used to work for Sony and Donnie Ienner and the whole mob crew and shit, He was like, a lot of these big business executive motherfuckers that run the record company, they don't know how to communicate with the artists. They don't know how to tell them, this is what needs to happen. And I can speak in your language. And I need to tell you, here's what we're about. Here's what we need. So you have what we need. You sign somebody, but they ain't got to be just wasting their time, man. You just fucking with people's lives. They put a record out there, and then they decide they don't like it because some other little young pretty bitch or little boy come along and okay, they put your whole ass on the shelf back there, and now they got your record, which that's your soul, but you put your soul in to make their music and everything. But then they just put you on the shelf because they paying attention to somebody else who's younger and prettier or whatever else. And then what are you gonna do? You can't do shit because they got your masters. You can't even sell your own music. So now that's the equivalent of selling your soul to the devil. That's what that is right there. And then what they don't tell you in the contract is if you are still around 30 years later, then you get a 5-year window to negotiate your masters back. So there's a loophole to the perpetuity clause.
Oh.
That a lot of motherfuckers don't know about because well, you got to get a lawyer to pay him enough to go read, find a small print that says perpetuity and know what perpetuity means and all that shit. You know, you get your masters back and they're going to try to pay you all this money to keep your masters. Then you just keep settling this shit. Or they give you 5 cents, but they should be giving you $1.
So wait, did you get him back?
Yeah. That's what Dog Eat Dog is about. The song on the record, Dog Eat Dog. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we got our shit back. X got theirs back too. X.
Oh, nice.
John Doe and Steve, yeah, right. So they got their masters back. And when I heard that, I was like, God damn it, somebody's actually, fighting the monster and won. And they got their masters back. So now anything they put out, they get to have the whole dollar. Any song, they get the whole dollar instead of 5 cents of the dollar.
Okay, the random question. You were talking about like early influences and stuff like that, but I'm also curious about when your paths began to cross with some other artists who were young, but then turned out to be amazing and legendary. Like, I'm curious about what you remember your first impressions were of the Red Hot Chili Peppers, for instance. What do you remember thinking of the Chili Peppers when you first encountered them?
There was the homies in Hollywood, man. We all used to hang out and shit and make music together. Hung out and make music together, man. I remember we made Under the Bridge together. That song Under the Bridge, and there's some footage, man. I swear, man, for sure. I don't know how to get back to it, but I'm playing drums with Lee, and I think John Shante may have been there. I don't know. But what had later turned into Under the Bridge. And then we had a group, Lee, John Shante, and Nikki B from the Germs. We had a 4-piece called Hate, Ops, Anarchy, and Truth for Everyone. And Flea called it that. And you can see some footage online. It's like but you got to look under John Shante and you got to look under Hate and see. But we did all these punk rock covers. We were a punk rock cover band. Yeah.
I got to find that shit.
Hate, man. That's what it was. Some wild ass shit was.
And what about Beastie Boys? Because I know you toured with them a bunch. What do you remember about kind of your early relationship with them or your impressions of what they were doing when you first saw it?
Well, it was when we was first getting into the New York hardcore scene, and Murphy's Law was one of the bands that we first met. Murphy's Law and then the Beastie Boys, because everybody knew one another in that whole scene. And so Beastie Boys, they were like some college frat boy shit, fucking funny as hell. Beer all over the stage, beer slinging. They had a stripper in the cave, gave a bunch of crabs on the tour. Oh yeah. They had a big dick that came out of the back of out of this Jack in the Box behind the drum set at the end of the show. And the last night of the show, they went to the market. They got some crabs and pinned crabs to the top of the dick when it came out. So, everybody was on some crazy, silly shit, man. There's a lot of fucking fun.
It's wild to think how much they developed more seriousness after that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and they played hardcore before that. You ever hear some of the Beastie Boys punk rock shit?
No.
Man, before the Beastie Boys, before they turned Beastie Boys, they were playing the punk rock, hardcore. Yep, it was good. I was impressed. That really sealed it for me for them. I'm like, oh shit, they did that before they went to hip hop. Oh yeah, that make all the sense in the world.
Did it feel to you like back then, like there were more mixing of genres than there is now, or like over the course of time, what have you observed in terms of genres blending or separating? Like, do you think that things were more adventurous back then in terms of like people fucking around with different genres than now?
I don't think so. I think it was still more separate. Genres are a lot more separated than now. That before the Black Rock Coalition came into the picture, and Black Rock before that was happening, it was a lot of separation of genres in the music industry. You know, that's why it was difficult for Fishbone to get anywhere because we're blending a lot of genres, and we just saw it as we were just playing our favorite songs that we like. We didn't think about it like banda or salsa is for Latinos and reggae is for black people with dreadlocks and rock is for white people. We just thought it was all is even though it was, it had all the different names and everything, we should still look at it like this is all our favorite songs we like to play. But the record companies really didn't see that. And then plus we sing about a lot of stuff. But when we started to sing about racism and racism, infected scenarios or whatever, record company, I don't really think that they like that either. It could be okay for their kids to listen to songs about drug abuse, but when it comes to songs about racism, that's a murder right there. Or what? Or burglary? Or murder. Yeah. But it's just you got somebody that are choosy about what you're saying, even though it ain't their experience. And so I remember running into that.
Where they would object, they would tell you explicitly, like, this isn't good for us.
Well, they wouldn't say it directly, but you can see comparing Fishbone with a lot of other bands in our circle. You never really hear No Doubt or Chili Peppers or Jane's Addiction or any of those other bands that we started out with in the same community. I got called nigga walking home from the bus stop. These rednecks is trying to kill me, or the KKK, blah, 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 so-and-so, so-and-so. The only people that was really singing about that were bands like Fishbone and probably Living Color and the Bad Brain. Make it right here?
No, Close Street. For a mile.
For a mile. Okay, I gotta pee.
Okay, that's going. You're 3 minutes away.
I gotta pee.
Okay.
So yeah, this is the part where, he did really have to pee. So he dropped off the Zoom. I was like, where did he go? And then I waited a few minutes and he returned.
That's why I love wearing a kilt. I was just telling Nancy. There's Nancy. Hi, Nancy.
Easy access, right?
That's right. Easy access, man. You got a kilt, no underwear. You can just whip it out right there. I advise the ladies to do the same. I had a girlfriend named Sheila Alagamunden, and she performed in Cirque du Soleil. And she went to the market, and she liked to do weird shit. She'd go to the market and have somebody filming her peeing directly on top of a cereal box. She had really good aim, too. So that just lets me know, hey, man, when it's time to go, motherfucker, you got to go. But you can have your body and your skill.
Gives new meaning to Frosted Flakes.
Ooh.
Okay, and off I go. Okay.
Are you almost at your destination?
Yeah, we're getting close.
Nice. All right. So I want to talk about let's talk about Stockholm Syndrome. Let's talk about the new Fishbone album, Stockholm Syndrome.
Oh yeah, praising your captors.
Praising your captors. Yeah. Fuck. So, and it's relevant. I mean, it's relevant for many experiences you've had in your life, in the band, with the record labels, with each other, that kind of shit, right?
Yep, exactly. How'd you know?
Because I listened carefully at the Grammy Museum. But it's significant that it's the first album since 2006. Obviously, that's a major return. So tell me, what inspired a new Fishbone album after all these years, and how did it come together?
Well, just to mention, I mean, I guess I don't know the difference between the album and the EP. So we had an album out with Fat Mike, so we had a bunch of songs on there, and that came in between 2006 and now. So a lot of songs that Fishbone had that we were working on before the dysfunction took over, because a lot of the dysfunction, and there's a lot of things that go under, a lot of descriptions and afflictions that go under the word dysfunction. You have abuse, jealousy, ego, pride, hate. So those are a lot of things that were coming to the surface. And a lot of times you just can't believe you're seeing that shit because, well, how could your brothers do this to you? How could you see this type of shit within your own family? Especially when you're making music. And music is the thing that you're doing to escape from all of that. But that's what turned it into Fishbone Penitentiary for me. And when it became that, that's when I feel like fate and the universe took over, and Norwood had removed himself from Fishbone because we just couldn't, our goals were different at that point. And Walt, and same with Walt, John Stewart just followed along. Well, they're going to be Fishbone without Norwood. But, I really tried, man. I really tried. I had the band go through therapy, band therapy. We made it through 3 meetings. And then, plus, I've been sober since 2020. Then I've gone through a lot of rehab and AA and therapy and shit off and on, just to make sure I stay on the track so I can handle all of what's happening, all the transitions and everything. Plus, I had to make sure I had some other bands. I had to make sure I had a back door and a window, the Fishbone Penitentiary. And that's the missing links. That's one back door. And the window was the brand new step. That was another escape. So when I couldn't translate or manifest the idea that I had through Fishbone, I was able to do it through another group, which it's been, I'm happy with the brand new step. We got tons of videos on YouTube. We got a couple of albums out. We got Wax. I got Thumb Drive. I got my vinyl and I got my Thumb Drive brand new step to sale out here on the road.
But things are feeling good with Fishbone now. It seems like.
Yes, it is. But a lot of that content and the result of those times went into the music. Was released now on the Stockholm Syndrome. So we want to thank those guys. We want to thank our captors back here in Fishbone Penitentiary for helping us make this wonderful music. Too bad they couldn't be here with us to continue the journey beyond the black hole. But I look at it as that you go through the black hole to create and be reborn again. Or going through the black hole, usually motherfuckers don't make it. They get scrunched up and pulled apart, and now they're just a bunch of little cells floating around in outer space. But I was able to make it through there.
Yeah, I guess it's all a part. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if it's accurate scientifically, but even in the black hole, all the cells that are floating around, they're still part of it. They're still floating around. They're still floating around as part of it.
Yeah, part of it. Yeah, it's a really big fucking space. It's a big space, and from what I hear, it's a tight squeeze too. All right.
Thank you so much for bringing me on the journey, Nancy. Nice to meet Nancy as well, and have an awesome show.
Oh yeah, hey, nice meeting you too, Jimmy. Thanks a lot. Appreciate you.
And so we have reached the end of episode 125. Thanks again for listening, and huge thanks to Angelo Moore of Fishbone. I will never forget that conversation. Fishbone continue to tour on Less Than Jake's Summer Circus with dates on that through about mid-August, and they've got some of their own shows beyond that. You can keep up with them at fishbone.net. And you can find other episodes of the LSQ podcast on podcast platforms and at jennylsq.com. Feel free to reach me by email at lsqpod@gmail.com and on socials including Blue Sky, Instagram, and TikTok. I'm at JennyLSQ. I'll talk to you soon.